Being called a stab in the back. That's how a French diplomat has described a Pacific security pact between three of its allies, the US, the UK and Australia. It's also being seen as an attempt to counter China.
The world is a jungle. France has just been reminded this bitter truth by the way the US and the UK have stabbed her in the back in Australia.
The American choice to exclude a European ally and partner such as France from a structuring partnership with Australia at a time when we are facing unprecedented challenges in the Indo-Pacific region shows a lack of coherence that France can only note and regret.
The new agreement is called AUKUS. Now, the three nations will share data on strategic areas, including artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, also nuclear defence. And under the terms, Australia will acquire a nuclear-powered submarine fleet with the use of American and British technology. Well, in a further snub to Paris, Australia has scrapped a $66 billion deal with a French firm to build 12 military submarines. And that's just the latest blow to the EU arms industry at a time when member states are struggling to meet their funding commitments to NATO. There are also long-running divisions in the bloc over creating its own army to ensure strategic autonomy from the transatlantic alliance. Well, Paris-based political analyst Nicola Markovic thinks the dispute over the new Pacific alliance shows that NATO allies don't necessarily have full trust in each other.
First of all, they've got within the NATO alliance and within the different alliances there are between these countries a very strong relationship, even within Australia, the US and the UK. Today they work within their own proper alliance. The UK, Australia and the US trust themselves more than they do trust countries like France or other ones, could be Italy or even Germany. Don't forget, Emmanuel Macron said a couple of years ago that the NATO was brain dead. Even Donald Trump said that NATO isn't working as it was initially supposed to be working. There are alliances within the alliances. What kind of alliance is this, where people eavesdrop or contracts are taken over? The U.S. doesn't have allies. It only has targets or it has vassals.
Australia, the US and France have repeatedly cited the supposed security threat from Beijing in the Indo-Pacific region, where China is the dominant power. And the signing of the AUKUS security pact comes just months after Britain infuriated Beijing by sending its warships to the South China Sea to join so-called freedom of navigation operations led by Washington. And China has condemned the new alliance, calling it a throwback to the Cold War.
Countries should not build exclusionary blocs targeting or harming the interests of third parties. In particular, they should shake off their Cold War mentality and ideological prejudice.
We asked economics professor Benjamin Chow and anti-war activist Richard Becker about Australia's choice of military partners and where this could all be leading.
There's no explanation. Why are the US and the UK now, at this time, helping Australia develop a nuclear-powered fleet of submarines, and then turning around and saying this will advance the world peace? Clearly, this is about another war. This is about a war that is being prepared against China. The U.S. leaders, they talk about the Indo-Pacific, which is, of course, a new term, was made up to enable the U.S. to explain, U.S. leaders explain bringing more countries into the anti-China alliance surrounding China.
On the surface, we see that the US and the UK they are empowering Australia to have a nuclear submarine. I think the one key underlying reason for this empowerment is the US inability to provide more defense budget to support this large spending of nuclear power submarines. In a sense, it is forcing Australia to share the cost of maintaining such ships and also strategic positions and also forces in the South China Sea and also Indo-Pacific region, especially now that there is increased tension between China and Australia. So China is watching very closely the next steps of this three-country alliance.